tags. Yeah, that's fine.
Which one?
I guess the one on the right.
Visitors registration.
We've all signed into security as well. Yeah, I know. I'm just letting you know we signed into security.
I'll be here this afternoon, it looks like. Laser extension, Deloitte, JLL Compass.
Oh, that's quite a few.
Yeah.
But they were here as of last month, which is interesting. Oral presentation. Oh, wow.
They were here yesterday?
No, they were here in June.
What time is it?
Is this where the oral presentations are taking place, or are they elsewhere?
Oral presentations are not public.
Is this where they're taking place, or are they elsewhere?
I have no idea where they do it, but they're not public. When he asked me yesterday, I thought he was talking about bids. Bids used to be public, but they don't even do that anymore.
Oh, no, do that.
Somebody will come up here and talk to you.
Yeah, we'd like to talk to somebody who can tell us.
It's 9.
Chairman's office, how may I help you? I can bring some chairs out if you want chairs.
You're awful kind. We're okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're okay. Thank you.
Happy birthday, Scarlett.
We could still do that.
You can
We
totally do that.
What is it, 39?
Well, 29, but it's not for another couple, several months.
I just turned 29 as a matter of fact. So happy birthday. I know.
My birthday's in May, but it looks like a group is Jeffy.
Well, we could sing happy birthday to you.
My mom said I'll be 29 for the next 15 years.
Yeah, I know.
Lots of folks.
The enclave.
The Enclave.
Pull some chairs out of there for you guys.
We're okay. We're okay. Thank you.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
We're good, thank you so very much.
It's a conference within a conference.
Sure do. I've got gum for everyone if you want it. Jenny.
Thanks.
Gum, anyone?
Sure. I'm fine, thank you.
Would you like some gum?
Did you?
Some gum.
I can't chew it. You spit it out and then swallow it. It's so good.
Oh, don't drink out of that.
I was gonna have to wash my hair.
They taken it out, and I think that's one of the last two left, but I won't let anybody drink that. I mean,
I don't think so.
You can at your own risk.
I didn't get any calls.
You
We
can
were
do
the
it at your own
contacts,
risk.
you and I.
Yeah.
One day I put it in this brown food people was kind of yellowish, they say it's just that.
No, it's no good.
So where'd you guys all travel from?
Memphis.
Memphis? Knoxville?
I'm in Nashville. But Murfreesboro.
Murfreesboro.
Jackson.
Okay,
Jackson.
representatives who know about this coming in.
Right.
Because when I told Barry, she goes, no, you talk about bids. I'm like, that's all I know. So, but some people who do know are coming in.
Okay.
You just know this much.
Do you know who they're sending?
No, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Mm.
Sure you don't want me to get some chairs? No, I'm fine. And there's one right over here.
Where's
So
the
right here,
couple
I'm
of
fine. Trying to grow.
We've all been sitting for quite a while.
So what does the Buffalo say to his son when he's going off to college?
Oh yeah, come on, we're so close to it too. It's like, what's another word for buffalo?
I love it, I know. Did you guys see the cow walking around? You know, there's a Chick-fil-A and a Starbucks down there, so Chick-fil-A has this huge cow walking around today.
Oh.
And so some girl saw it, who was out the walk around, she goes, if they don't hurry and get that guy in here, we're gonna have patty melt. Cause he's in this big old, I guess, yes, his head, everything is like in there. Maybe they're paying him good money, they don't pay him good money.
Did your son start in college this year? He's 17, right?
One.
Where's he starting at?
Actually, Friday he moves to Washington State.
No way. What's wrong with Tennessee?
Mason, right? So this family, we like knew each other since our kids were babies, and they grew up until they were 11 or 12, and he was military. They get transferred out there.
Right.
And then another friend of his, last year, this last year, their family moved up there. So now there's two best friends, and another one he met through them. So they're all gonna go up there, rent the house together, 4 guys, and go to college. They'll all be going to different colleges, but they'll be together.
Where in Washington?
Washington State.
But what city? What part? Near the coast or Seattle?
Seattle.
Seattle. No.
So my daughter got married in Italy.
I like the
She spent like 5 months today, so we just had a reception Sunday. This Friday, my one was
One of that Michael Doug said he's not gonna release any more shoes
Friday, my other
until
son
black,
goes back to
till
Florida.
people come
and she
together.
said one child only.
Wow.
Not
When they
about
leave,
it.
Oh, man. It's gonna be really a blunder.
you're done.
No more shoes. His name on it.
He's donating $2 million to a community,
Yeah.
to 2 different communities,
Mm-hmm.
$1 million each.
No, but the wedding was the night. Did they video? Yes, well, they didn't video, but I got tons of pictures. Tons and tons. And then we had the reception Sunday, so that was fun. I was trying to talk my one son who's going to Washington to stay home just for 1 more year, and my oldest son said, Mom, if he does that, you'll lose two at once next year. So
Right.
I'm letting him go. That's what I raised.
all of
the
us
fund.
say the
I don't want
same
my
thing
kids
one
to have a
after
house
the
that
other.
could stay long. I don't want that in all.
I was,
I'm very close with them, they're all very close with each other, but none of them wanna stay home, but it's not because I can't, it's like.
I am so and so, and
It's a really good thing. And I'm not sure who I'll follow. I'll be visiting them all the time.
I'm a taxpayer, I'm a voter, I deserve to be
Each one, yeah.
For 1 month.
involved in this
Yeah.
process.
That one.
You stood this so many years.
I think the girls go over to have them something.
One money, that's like 18 years.
Uh-huh.
Well, it'd be fine.
Mhm.
Figure next, I'm sorry. Mr. Kavaka?
Yeah.
These people are with,
We're here for the oral presentations,
Oral presentations?
for the RFQ, for the governor's
Okay.
outsourcing initiative.
Right, oral presentations are not meetings that are open to the public. They're only available to the evaluators, the people who are presenting, and, any people who are coordinating solicitation. If you are here for that, I'm sorry, you cannot attend.
well, we're not really necessarily trying to attend, but the information where they are isn't necessarily private information. That should be public information.
That information is just that, it's information.
Right.
You're not entitled to information. You're entitled to make an open records act request.
Right, right. I mean, that's in dispute about the confidentiality of this agreement, or this
Right.
information. Technically, the vendors have to make this information be established as proprietary at a much earlier stage in the process, which I don't believe they've done. So this information should be technically open to the public.
It's not,
Yeah. Okay.
so I'm sorry. Right.
It's not Tennessee law.
No, if,
If you could
What part of the law is that?
yeah, if you could point us to that statute,
Okay.
that'd be great.
well, there's a number of statutes that deal with how we structure our procurement organization. We have a number of policies and procedures that deal with how we conduct our procurements. There is not a single time in our, since we've been doing this, that we've invited members of the public to any of our oral presentations. Not a single one.
Have they ever asked to go before?
There have been numerous requests to go, but we've never granted them, and we will not start now.
And part of that is that there's competitive information that
That's right, there is.
compromise, obviously, obviously this is on behalf of taxpayers, and
Right.
so you want to protect the integrity of that
Well,
process.
just-
We are all taxpayers here.
I
That's
get
exactly
that,
right,
I
there's
get that.
6.5 million
Yep,
taxpayers.
sure are.
The taxpayers were promised during the General Assembly, and as early as February, in the
Right.
joint release from y'all's office, UT and TBR, that an audit would be conducted.
Yes.
And I don't think at this point that audit is completed. Is it gonna be completed on time?
The RFQ is posted on the public
I
website.
understand the
And
RFQ is posted.
the schedule that is included with that procurement is on the website, and we are on schedule with that procurement. And that,
To end at the end of this month, because that was the schedule that was presented
That's
to the
correct.
General Assembly.
Right.
In the next 3 days, the audit will be available.
no, the audit will not be available. What you're seeing is the schedule for procuring a third party, which
No,
is a
that was
solicitation.
May to June, and then June and July was the implementation of the audit. I mean, that was at least what y'all presented in committee.
If you look at the schedule that's on the General Services website, and I'd be happy to send you the link, you can see an amended schedule.
So an amended
Process.
schedule, so y'all
Yes,
did,
that's
the
routine.
Right.
schedule is changed from what was presented to the legislature.
That's not unusual for
That's not
procurement.
unusual at all.
But in this instance, just so I
And
understand
that
my
information's
clarity,
public.
that schedule has been
You should
changed
be
from what the
consulting-
legislature
right.
was shown.
No, it's not been changed from what the legislature was shown. Those
So it is
schedule
the
of
same
events-
schedule?
The schedules of events for every procurement change because circumstances change.
So the schedule that was
Right.
shown to the legislature,
I don't know which schedule was shown to the legislature.
so you are not familiar with the schedule shown
What
to
I
the
am
legislature?
saying, sir, is
No.
that the information on the schedule is public record and it's available on the state of Tennessee's website.
Yes, ma'am, and I've seen that, but you have acknowledged here that that is an amended schedule and it is a different
There is
time frame for the completion of that
There is
audit.
a more recent version of the schedule. If you were to pull any solicitation that we currently publish on our website, you will see that there are numerous changes to the schedule of events, and they're published as amendments to the solicitation.
When that was changed,
Mhm.
was the schedule for events for this RFQ oral presentations changed, or have that schedule remained on track?
I
In
don't
other words,
know.
we've moved forward on the
I would have to
RFQ
compare it.
without.
I would have to compare the original against the most recent version.
Sir, all of that information is public and it's on the public website, so you have every opportunity to go out there and view the schedule, and you could see the progression, every single amendment is there.
Yes, ma'am. And the reason why we're asking these questions is because as a taxpayer, as a member of the public, I'm viewing that schedule
Okay.
and I'm seeing that that schedule is different from what was publicly presented in meetings with the legislature.
Yes.
And I'm seeing only parts of that schedule are different, namely those parts that validate or disprove the claims that have been made by y'all's office. So I see the implementation of the plan that your office is tasked to implement moving forward, but the validation of the claims you've made as part of that implementation, that being amended. And so that's why I'm asking for clarification,
saying is-
because I'm reading it and it's not translating to me why one has changed and one hasn't. And so I just want to
trying to explain it to
confirm,
you.
yeah, that I am seeing the correct thing. One has changed, but the RFQ has not.
I'm trying to explain it to you, and I understand that maybe you're confused, but there are two RFQs. One is for FM service.
Yes.
One is for the validation to get a third party
Yes.
secured by the state to conduct a study. That is on schedule as published on the state of Tennessee's website. The FM service is also on schedule as published on the state of Tennessee's website.
But
And
the
if there-
first RFQ you mentioned, not the FM,
Yes.
sir, the first one you
Yes, sir.
mentioned, has been amended. Its timeline has been amended. The other timeline has not been amended.
I would need to look on the
Yeah.
website right now to
But you-
tell you, but I can tell you that so far it is on schedule. Whether or not I know if there's been an amendment at this
Well,
juncture.
that's right, and here, and it also is, further point to that is, because of changed circumstances, there may be future amendments, and it happens in a procurement, typically.
Sure. The reason why it is confusing is because there was a flow chart presented of what steps it would be moved forward, and there was a two-way answer. Is it validated? Move forward. Is it not? Right? And so
Right.
that's where if one's changed and the other isn't, it becomes confusing.
So it sounds like what might be helpful is if on our website we had that schedule flow and just continually have it up there. Would that be helpful to you?
I think it could be helpful. Additionally, I think it would be very helpful if communication would be sent to those legislative committees that had previously been presented to, and it was explained specifically which parts have been amended and changed, which parts remain on schedule, or remain with the same dates that had been, like some sort of accounting of that, or at least letting them know that the audit that was described to them with a certain timeline of months which steps would be completed, where that is at, because I think it is just different than what's out in the public record. I understand it's you have done your due diligence of putting it on the website, but in terms of communicating that to the members of our General Assembly, I don't know if that's been explicit.
We appreciate that feedback.
I'd also like to point out there was a recent article in the Tennessean pointing out that a large number of Tennesseans lack broadband internet access, and so the fact that all this information is made public on the internet is not really that accessible to people. Is there another way that we can work this information at being more accessible, primarily to members of the state of Tennessee who work and would be affected by this outsourcing?
Appreciate that comment. I would need to look into it.
Yeah, not only that, before we even made this information available on the internet, before we had the ability to do that, typically this information just was never disseminated much more than through advertisements traditionally. So we're far ahead of where things used to be. But what you're asking for is probably, given our resources and everything else, and the ability to communicate with as many people as possible, publishing this information on the website is the most efficient way to make it available to everyone. It's far better than what it used to be.
That's great that it's better than it was. I guess the last question I have that I know a lot of people here share is back to that scheduling, and what is the reasoning behind having the RFQ process move when the validation of the audit has not been shown to prove any savings?
I think the last time we met, I explained that it's a concurrent process. And the reason that it's concurrent is because for the state to gather information, it requires following state rules and procedures and law, and that is a solicitation process. And each solicitation can take 3 months. And so I believe Terry Cowles explained to you that when you, actually there's no commitment to doing any decisions until the very end of the process, which we explained would be in the potentially February timeframe of 2017 when the solicitation is projected to be complete, which is in the RFQ. So there's nothing wrong with having a concurrent process because you're conducting the study, you're also continuing to gather information. And so it's in the best interest to have all the data you need in order to make an informed decision.
Is there a backstop, right? At which point, if this process does not move forward on the validation, is there a point at which, while they are concurrent, you say, hold up, we can't get the other aspects, the concurrent aspects of the bidding process can't move beyond a certain stage because at that point the distance between the two just grows to such a great degree. And I ask this especially because the amount of research I've done to familiarize myself with the theory and the writing of folks like Mr. Ledyard, who's been brought on as a consultant, is that this process of this process of procurement, the vested outsourcing model, it actually becomes more and more disruptive the further along in that process it is if parties remove themselves from it. So it's basically, right, like there was a push to see that folks would have buy-in on the front end, and then after this RFQ stage is complete, y'all are going to do these value developments collaboratively with the companies that potentially could be awarded this contract, correct? And so the idea that we would continue to move this process forward on that front without answering some of the homework questions on the other sort of sets up a problem just within the structure of vested outsourcing itself.
Right. I think what you're speculating on is something that we would have to cross that bridge when we got to it, but is so far and so speculative, I couldn't respond to that, to your question.
I wanted to clarify something that Paul said earlier. I understand there was some questions on what Tennessee law said about the public nature or confidential nature of the documents during this stage. I've got the citation if y'all want to write this down.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Tennessee Code Annotated, section.
Mine's not working. Tennessee annotated.
Tennessee Code Annotated, section 10-7-504.
A7.
A7.
Yep. That makes the documents that we receive as part of the procurement confidential, not subject to public inspection.
They can't be FOIA'd?
No, not until after award.
That would, that's a public policy consideration that's common across the country, both federal and state law and local, because it would completely compromise the integrity of a procurement process.
Yeah, that's what I was explaining to him earlier. That's actually contested in federal court. They have to establish proprietary measure or proprietary information much before the process even occurred. And that has actually been proven that the exemption of FOIA actually falls on disclosure rather than confidentiality. So unless they've been establishing proprietary records.
That's a
Entirely
doctrine.
different doctrine. Yeah,
That's
FOIA, for one thing, FOIA doesn't apply to state documents, records.
That's
It only applies to federal
Open
documents.
Records Act.
Right.
So it seems like there's also some people here, though, that feel like their integrity has been compromised with this whole process, with this initiative period, because their jobs are on the line and their lives are on the line, and the rest of us here are very concerned about the aspects of democracy that are being compromised with vested outsourcing in particular.
I think
And
that
so there's a lot of concerns here about integrity that go beyond the law.
I think that, it's very understandable that there's concern. I completely understand that. And I think that what the state is trying to do is not delay the process any longer than it needs to be, because in genuineness, they understand that. And so they're trying to do things as expediently as they can, following the law, so that we can, and all we're doing really